Yeah, g'day from Oz. Now, bear with me, we're starting to get some rain out here in the shed. I think we'll be alright, but we'll go ahead anyway. Today I'm going to talk about gem. Now, I think the question is it really a gem? Now, I'm going to go through, I've already prepared some stuff, so we'll go through the bits and pieces that I'm concerned about. Alright, gem, what is it? It's basically, my understanding is they're trying to compete against a product from Amazon and another product called Crowdsource, I think. Now, I did have a marked up version of the white paper, but that is back on another PC. But basically, they're trying to take on a couple of big players, Amazon being the big one, and they go, oh, Amazon's made $50 million on their startup for their Turk. But from my understanding is you're basically crowdsourcing. Here we go. Decentralized open source, crowdsourcing protocol built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. Now, it does break down into a bit of depth. There's not, on the surface, it's not too bad. It does break down the network. It's a staking coin. It sounds like it uses a familiar system like Obsidian does, where you get like a network weight. I think that works also with, don't quote me, but Zem or there's a few other coins out there where your network weight is important, and that's basically being called a trust score in this case. Now, the argument here is, Amazon requires identification, verification, and so does the other crowdsource. I think I will come across the program, but yeah, there's another program. But basically, they use systems where there's a middleman, verification is required, and it's a very unprofitable way. And I think they were suggesting it almost deceitful. So what these guys are trying to do is basically make it all out there on the open, put it on the blockchain, remove the middleman, and try and connect both the provider and the consumer. In this case, I think the consumer is the one requiring data, and the provider will be the general public or people staking. Now, I think there's two principles to this. You'll have a person that verifies and a person that actually does the transaction. So if you go through the white paper, there's a couple of different levels. Crowdflower, that's what they call it. So they're trying to compete against Amazon and Crowdflower. And here they go. The problem is fees. Now, the only thing I don't like is you could have probably broken this diagram down to something a bit more meaningful, like numbers. Look, I am not too bad at maths, and that diagram's not too bad. You can get your head around it. It's when we start to get to this beautiful one. It's kind of like Arthur and Martha. But if, by all means, if someone's a mathematical genius, let me know. And that will lead me into what I'll say is the background of the O'Reilly boys doing this doesn't lend to mathematics. So I might be wrong. I'm happy for them to come and do a video with me, because there's a few questions around their background. But so the idea is there's some pretty graphs, and it's basically saying that there's some consensus between the buyer and the seller. Alright. No fees. That's the idea. What they're going to try and do is do if not all the transactions on a sidechain, and then eventually, when you want to make the major withdrawal, that's when the Ethereum gas. That'll be the time when gas. There'll be a fee in the means of gas. Sorry. Participation. This is what they were saying about inhibitors for participation with the traditional market and how this system can be a bit easier. But it did raise a few questions because, for example, how are you going to establish a trust score in the very beginning when everyone should theoretically be zero? So it'll be interesting to see how they fire off this network. It also, if you go through the white paper, tends to suggest everything is yet to be developed. So look, we'll go through a couple of pages later where we'll answer some questions. Payments, some consensus, paid on the blockchain. Everything's done by gems except for when you're going to use gas. Now, this is where they had a big dig. they said usability, and they had a dig about the interfaces for the other two competing products, but I think it's pretty cheeky to have a dig at a existing product when it tends to suggest that you're still to develop your own. So yeah, it's always fun and games to pick apart someone else's solution, but much harder to implement your own and then be peer reviewed on that solution as well. Modules, this all comes back into the interface they're talking about. I think they want to build AI, and yeah, here it goes in a layered approach. So they want to build AI, machine learning and deep learning over time, but that's all beautiful in theory. And again, white paper aside, this white paper, I would suggest these two boys didn't put this white paper together. That's my gut feeling. Staking mechanism, yes, if you screw up the system you lose your money and eventually you get banned. They also are mindful that joining the system and trying to, with a different wallet, you'll have to go through a process of being trusted. They still haven't defined what that time frame or how that goes. Miners are the ones who are going to be basically doing the hard work. So I think miners will earn a reward, and then you'll have the verifiers that check the miners' work. They'll have a few of them, they'll form a consensus, and if everything's good, people get paid and the data gets sent. Now again, I'm not a full guru, but that's my mid-level understanding of what goes on here. Again, that's like that. As we keep going through, reputation decreases, and this is what was an interesting point, is it did give you the chance to retry the task. So if the miner gets something wrong, then it gets a chance to retry, as long as, I think there were some conditions as well, like someone else didn't do it or the time didn't expire or something like that. But again, this is kind of looks half reasonable, but without a developed product, or again, I'm challenging them. I'm a bit scared to use the test one, and I'll tell you why. Trust, beautiful. Anyone out there who has the slightest foggiest what that shit means here, beautiful. All right. I'm sure we could have probably simplified that with, we could redact that. This is where I think either it's designed to look really smart, and the background of these lads, and I'll jump onto that now. Alright, Kieran O'Reilly, Rory the racing car. Okay, Kieran O'Reilly. Now they admit, and this is hard to verify, I guess, some of this stuff. I'm happy for someone to actually prove it, but yes, GIFs, I can prove they own gifs.com, and he supposedly, hasn't said if he's completed the Bachelor of Science, but to do that in 1 year or 2, depending on how that could maximum overlap, would be a pretty mean feat. Now, I'm actually not convinced that he's done that, because generally you would write that up and sell that a little bit more. Even Rory here did a better job saying, look, I did it, but I dropped out. Now, some young fellas, obviously of the same stock. What worries me is they haven't shown a commitment, and especially Harvard. Shit, if I was at Harvard and I'd gone 2 years into it, I'd want to finish that off, because the payoff over life, it's got to be beneficial. So it'd be interesting to know why they left, and yes, they could have left for gifs.com, but really? If you look at gifs.com, I don't know, it's pretty hard to ascertain that it's a major financial income. But anyway, okay. So those two boys, and the backgrounds, one is Bachelor of Science, and the other one is Psychology. And yet the white paper seems to be very mathematical. So, look, I'm not saying that they didn't write it, but I'm just throwing it out there that, okay. GEMS payment system, Conclusions. Now, I love this. Everyone's got one of these sections, how they've got it. I would like to see if it is open source. Any of this is open source. I didn't garner a GitHub repository, but I will have another look at the page in a second. Excuse me. Looking forward. Yeah. Now, and that's the end of that. Now, what worries me is there's no token dynamics. There's no timeline. There's some really broken down in-depth stuff where it, for, I don't know, for the sake of it, but this white paper doesn't exactly answer all the questions. And you're wanting us to basically promote this product in a way to everyone without knowing pretty key metrics. So I do have issues right there and then just for that. Now, as we go through it, LinkedIn profile, they've got 500 users, but it doesn't look like they've made many posts. Now, it could be because I haven't joined them. Happy for these guys to show us some street cred by any means, and that's what I guess I want to see, some street cred, especially young people. Not having a knock at young people, but the rumor is the age of entitlement. Things this when I was, well, I'm not that old, but I'm not that young. When I was working at Burger King at 14, call it Hungry Jack's that way. Look, and I've worked ever since. So I'd be interested to know what these guys have committed to and what they've achieved, except for the gifts.com. Okay. Now they've got a blog and it talks about, I'm just going to shift this. You can join in and test the beta or the testnet version of their software. The big problem with that though is even in the instructions now, by all means correct me if I'm wrong, but they haven't told us to actually jump to any testnet or anything, and as far as I know, you're signing in with access to your wallet without knowing who these guys are and what goes on the other side. I'm a bit hesitant unless they actually instruct me to use the testnet or something like that and make it clear. Now I will just double check because I hate to be I will stand corrected. Ross button. Alright, no worries. Well, I might give that a crack, and I'll put a little post back up if I've got to be. Sorry, that's my muff. Yeah, they should have probably put it in the steps here. And to me, that's a very thin process. So even if I do go in and complete that process, and I'll have to generate a second wallet just to do that and feel comfortable about it. If that's all it is basically click do something, then we have no real insight to the depth of what they've got going on. So yeah, there's a few things kind of missing from this ICO, and anyone that kind of jumps in and spends big, I would be hesitant to do so. The hype alone, if you can get out in the initial pump, no worries, but if they haven't got much of a back end either in this actual software that they've supposedly developed, or they haven't really got a timeline that has described key milestones, I think we could be waiting a while for a return if worst case scenario is there. Now I'm going to keep moving on. This is the site they run. It's called gifts.com. Yeah, I don't know. It looks alright, and I could probably go more and do a site search through Google and rip it up. But look, the main thing is I tend to go through it. I'll look at the site, look at the registration, find a phone number or something that gives me a way back in. So in this case, I managed to look at the domain history, track it back to a phone number, whack that phone number in here, and then you can see they've actually got some other URLs associated with them. And then you can have a look, and if you look hard enough, you can find their details when they've registered and stuff like that. They're no means top 10 site or anything like that. So until this ICO, I've never heard of it, and by means I'm probably naive. Okay, and again this comes back, and unless you can see, yeah, that's what they've done. But the site itself is not screaming out, you know, high-end, geeky. So look, I'm going to wrap this up, and I will say, look, the project might be relying on hype to get it over the line, and it's sure winning that battle. The Telegram subscription is through the roof. Whether that's an indicator of people are mindless sheep or this is a good product, I think we'll see that in the next couple of months. Look, if I was to have a look at it, I'd put a small amount if I can get in on the pre-sale and get ready to drop as soon as they hit an exchange. Keeping an eye on, things can change. They might come up with some metrics. They might come up with something better that, razzle dazzle. They might, some people like to straddle their news over time. So who knows? But up front, white paper 50% because there's no timeline. There's a few things missing. Socials through the roof, but that's just that can't be the whole thing. And I guess the team, there's two guys. They haven't shown any real commitment. I haven't seen anything more than they've just been part of a website, so they're not really part of something outside of themselves. So that could be an indication that they don't like to commit. They're young and they're free, and let them go. So people, be wise on this one. I think I'm not going to shill it. I think anyone shilling it is just a mindless idiot because they can't ignore those metrics. Okay, hooroo from me and enjoy.